I just want to put a couple of ideas together that I've been thinking about recently. One to do with belief and one to do with attention. And particularly about the economies of those phenomena. The economy of belief, and I'll explain what I mean by that in a minute. And then the economy of attention, particularly the economy of attention as it functions in YouTube. So I think there's some parallels there. They might be a bit spurious, but I'm going to see how far I can get with that. Firstly, the economy of belief. The idea that belief has an economy is something that I've found in some readings I was doing in neuroscience. I think it's Sam Harris who writes about this, but it might be other people as well. And the basic idea is that it takes more mental effort, more cognitive resources to believe something than it does to disbelieve something. It's harder to disbelieve than it is to believe. And there's a number of hypotheses why that might be the case. The one that I find most compelling is this idea that in order to believe something, you entertain it in your mind. You know, I believe there is a tree in front of me. Yeah, so I'm entertaining the tree. Now, if I'm going to disbelieve that, I have to first entertain the possibility of it, and then I have to take the possibility of it away. So there's an additional step in the process. You can't disbelieve something without entertaining the idea of it first. Whereas believing something, all you have to do is entertain the idea of it. Because that extra step takes up cognitive resources, takes up processing power, if you like, in your brain, it's harder. It demands more, as I say, more cognitive resources. So the economy of belief suggests that we are disposed to believe things and not disposed to disbelieve things. It's one of the explanations I think that Sam Harris gives for the widespread nature of belief, particularly religious belief, and how atheism is quite an effort for most people. It's a bit of a luxury, in fact. You can only afford to exercise those additional cognitive resources if you're in a situation which frees up those resources and allows you to engage in this additional step, this additional act of disbelieving. So that's the economy of belief. The economy of attention, as it applies to YouTube, is something I've just started thinking about. It's to do with, well actually it's a very specific thing made me think of it, and this is to do with a video by Mr. Cropper, who is, I think, is a kind of Ayn Rand objectivist teacher, I think. But he's made a bunch of videos critiquing various people, particularly Professor Anton and Matt, thou art Matt. Quite critical videos, and he's had a number of responses from various people. I responded to one of them. You know, there's some very articulate responses. But what I've noticed in that, though, is the more his ideas are critiqued, the more attention he gets, which is obvious, I suppose, really. You know, last time I checked the number of views that the video that I responded to had, his number of viewings had something like three times the number of views that it was about Professor Anton's video, that the Professor Anton's videos had. So his critique of Professor Anton had been seen more than Professor Anton's video, and of course it was seen more by my response, the response that Professor Anton himself made, the response that who else made, Symbolic made, a bunch of other responses. Mr. Cropper's video had been seen more than the responses. So there's something odd going on there about how attention is flowing through the system, how the economy of attention within the system is working. Which in some ways I think parallels this belief-disbelief thing. I'm not quite exactly sure what the relationship is yet, but the attention flows in a certain direction and then stops at a certain point. That's kind of how I'm envisaging it. The attention is flowing and stopping, and at the moment it's flowing, and in Mr. Cropper's case, it's flowing towards Mr. Cropper and being held up there. And accumulating there, so he's getting lots of hits as a result of that, and kind of flowing past both the original video that Professor Anton in this case made and flowing past the various responses that were made, which is interesting. It's almost as if it's easier to follow that line of attention than it is to resist it. and listen to the response than to apply critical faculties and look at the original video. Those kind of things require an extra step of work other than just see the link that says Mr. Cropper and go to it and listen to it and feel whatever you feel as a result of that. Interesting. I don't think it's a problem necessarily, it's just something I observed. I mean, certainly it's changed my behaviour. I will not be putting the words Mr. Cropper as a tag on this video, for example, nor will I be featuring his words, that word, anywhere in the title or in the description in the info box. Because those obviously are the channels through which attention flows and is eventually brought up behind the dam that is Mr. Cropper's video, and awards attention to that. I wouldn't go, yeah, it's not for me to say really, but I don't think his videos are worthy of that amount of attention, personally.